Hi, Mr. Graves. This is my final project for sociology, and I think most importantly I want to say thank you. I know that there are a lot of things that school teaches us, but this is pretty much the only course where I'm coming out of it and I see the world differently, and I think that's more important than the grades you get on tests and quizzes, because while knowledge is power, so is perspective. For my project, the topic I picked was how modern society has shaped me as a young woman. And I said a young woman specifically because I think one of the biggest things that I've learned is that gender really does play a role in everyday life. And I think that many of the articles that we've talked about touched on not only how kids participate, but also how women participate and how they are shaped by technology and media and pressures from a very young age, including Disney movies, which I do still love. He said that this project was supposed to be all about us, that we were supposed to make it personal. So I did decide to incorporate the fact that I have grown up with two moms and no father figure. I do think that it sets me apart slightly from the rest of my friends and classmates because many of them do and have grown up with a mom and a dad. I wouldn't change my situation for anything, but I do think that they have changed the way that I look at things along with sociology. One of the most important things to recognize for me as I complete this final project is that I wouldn't be able to do it, at least not in the same way that I would have starting back in January when we began the class, because I truthfully didn't think about how things affected me like they do now. I mean, I don't think I would have looked at Disney movies before our class discussion and said, wow, I was taught from a young age that I really did need a Prince Charming to make me whole or to save me. And I probably wouldn't have thought as much going into college about the risks that you take and what it means to dress as a girl when you go out to a party because of how guys look at you and how guys think of you and how you're stereotyped. And just in general, I think the roles that we play as individuals, or what it means to be given a toy at a young age that's either a Barbie doll or a G.I. Joe. I mean, everything is so solidified into gender, and I don't think that I would have been able to recognize this on my own without this class. And as our old friend Alan G. Johnson said, practicing sociology is a way to observe the world and to think about it and make sense of it. It is a way to be in the world and of the world. It to play a meaningful role in the life of our species as it shapes and reshapes itself into the mystery of what's going on and what it's got to do with us. Well, I definitely have put some time in thinking about how I participate in society and what it does have to do with me. Here are pictures of Sleeping Beauty and Snow White, both requiring a kiss from their Prince Charming to feel alive again and to become a princess. And same with Cinderella, who needed the glass slipper to feel as if she was worthy of Prince Charming. As a young girl, I was able to see being a princess was ideal, and that I should strive to look like this and be that important to men. In his article discussing the Disneyfication of children's culture, Henry Giroux goes on extensively to discuss the impact Disney has had on children growing up in recent decades. When talking about Disney's animated film, Giroux says, and yet tied to the magical fantasy and lighthearted musical scores are representations and themes that emulate the repetitive stereotypes characteristic of Disney's view of childhood culture. He then continues to make a comparison to Ursula and the Little Mermaid, claiming that Ursula is the ugly model and Ariel looks somewhat like a cross between a California model and a rebellious teenager. I don't think Giroux could have said it better when he stated that Ariel gives away her voice to gain a pair of legs so she can pursue the handsome Prince Eric. I feel I can justly make the connection between the stereotypical roles of Disney princesses and the roles that young women like myself feel we must play. We feel like we must conform to the societal pressures in modern society to dress up and spend hundreds of dollars just for one night, to get a handsome date, and to look beautiful, all to take it all off, like beauty is fleeting and that it cannot be obtained forever. I'm sitting here with one of my moms. Her name's Karen.
Oh, I waved with the hand that you can't see. Hi.
So one of the first questions I have for you on my project, which discusses the impact modern society has on women, is do you feel technology, Hollywood, or mass media has played a severe role in the way I view the world and how I behave?
I think all three of them have. Mass media and the pressure to look a certain way and dress a certain way, I think, has influenced you. I think technology for sure. I mean, you guys can't do anything without a smartphone attached to you.
Yeah.
We did not grow up that way. And as far as Hollywood goes, I'm sure it has. I mean, you've always had certain TV shows and stuff like that or movies that you've kind of watched over and over again. But again, pressure to be thin or, tall or blonde or whatever. I'm sure it's affected you.
So do you think that there's a big difference in the pressures that you felt growing up and the pressures that I feel with technology? Like how I'm exposed to very skinny models and roles for girls. Do you think there's a difference in when you grow up and how I'm growing up?
I think that your generation's probably more sensitive to that because my generation was outside playing games and sports until it was time to come in and have dinner and go to bed. So, yeah, I think you've been more exposed to it.
Part of what I feel like my mom just touched on was the impact of technology on people my age, or more importantly, girls my age. I think that there is a big difference on what they call the footprint that we leave behind now, because everything can be traced that you've ever posted anywhere, and it has changed the culture of girls. It has caused a lot of bullying. It has caused a lot of suicide in both young women and men. And I think that girls are greatly affected by it. They're either boosted insurmountably with confidence based on the pictures that they post, or they are torn down and lack self-confidence due to people out there. When talking about technology and media, that really is the unique part about my generation growing up, and a huge impact, like I just stated, on women. So part of being in this class means questioning the lens with which you are seeing things and questioning the motives of the people who are supplying the information to you. I mean, I don't think that it's a coincidence where you see on magazines girls who are insanely thin and diet advertisements. Although this article was mostly pertaining to men, Andrew Lindner's Controlling the Media in Iraq does touch on my previous point. He does question the fraction of what we actually see pertaining to the war and how government does control a lot of what we do see. And some of that excuse is to try to not lower morale when we are in war, but there is truth in what he has to say, that we really do not see the full picture. We only see a portion of it and what they want us to see, which is part of what we need to learn, and what I have learned, and I'm so thankful that I have, that every time I see something, that doesn't mean I should question it, because I think that's really hard to live like that, but it does mean that I should take a second look at who's telling me the story, and I should consider what they have to gain from telling me the story. In relation to this point, Lindner does say in his article specifically, however, a different and arguably more compelling explanation exists for why embedded reporters might depict the war in a military-centric manner. They didn't have the freedom to roam. So if we choose to look at it this way, I think this article is very relatable. If you don't have the freedom to see the whole picture, then you're never going to get the whole picture, and it may be close to impossible to understand the full picture. For instance, I'm sitting here right now in my living room and you can see my cat behind me. You have no idea if there's an axe murderer to my right or a bunch of lollipops to my left. You just never know, because I'm showing you what I want you to see. And I think as a girl in modern society, I should be aware of this, that whatever is cut out of the picture, I don't know, and I take things at face value, or at least I used to. Sociology has taught me not to do that, to ponder what's beyond the borders, what's beyond the lens, and what they don't want you to see. And as a young girl, there's so much that I already have taken to heart that maybe I shouldn't have. That skinny model was retouched, and that picture of that war hero could have been photoshopped or cropped. There are so many things that I have now chosen to look at in a different light because of sociology, and for that I have you to thank, Mr. Graves. Hi again.
Hi.
So, Mom. Mom?
Yes, honey.
Okay. So far I've been talking a lot about perspective, and I've already asked you a few things about how you think the modern world has changed me as a woman, but I also would like you to reflect on how you and Mom chose to raise me, because what I have talked about in class a few times, which I think is very interesting, is the gender types that we get molded into right away. Like once we are born, you're either put into a pink blanket or a blue blanket. And I want to know how you raised me. If you chose to put me into that kind of corner and give me only options that are most stereotypically for girls, or how you decided to go about it.
No, I think certainly that we were two moms raising you. We certainly looked at things a little differently, and I think your wall colors when you were born were actually yellow, and that had a little bit to do with not knowing if you were going to be a boy or a girl, but also, we tried not to do that. I mean, I can remember somebody in the family whose little boy liked pink as his favorite color, and she just about lost her mind, and she just told him he's not allowed to like pink anymore, and I just never understood that. So, we certainly gave you options of playing with any kind of toy that you were interested in. Whether it was a doll or a truck or whatever, we put it all in front of you and just kind of learned to
let me choose for myself.
Yeah, let you kind of figure out, what you were passionate about, and it was easy for you because you always had a strong opinion on what you liked to do and what you didn't like to do. So,
do you let me dress myself too?
Oh yeah, in 3 or 4 outfits at a time. Yes, whatever you wanted to wear was fine. It didn't have to match. It could be stripes and checkers. It just really didn't matter.
I was a very lucky and happy baby growing up, and still am a very lucky, happy girl from 2 amazing parents who luckily did not put me into a corner and give me gender stereotypes. What we have been talking about just now relates a lot to gender. As I mentioned before, I feel like it is very important to acknowledge the fact that gender does play a large role in the way that I am treated and the way that many other people are treated. In Barbara Riesman's article, Gender as Structure, she quotes Lorber, who argues that gender is an entity in and of itself that establishes patterns of expectations for individuals, orders social processes of daily life, and is built into all other major social organizations of society. Gender plays a huge role in the social structure within high school. I have seen it firsthand, especially being an athlete, how many people don't respect girls' sports as much as they respect guys. Or you hear coaches saying, don't act like a girl, don't act like a sissy, get up, be a man. I mean, girls use it too, not as directly and not as often, but there are habits that we're used to because of what we have learned growing up in society and what it means to be strong, and we think that means being a man and not a sissy or not a little baby girl. I mean, guys use it to structure and police the boundaries of masculinity, which is what we've been talking about a lot lately. And being a girl today, it does affect the way that I live my life and how strong I want to be seen. As I wrap up this video, I would like to recap on all of the socializing agents that I felt have contributed to my role as a woman in society. I definitely believe that the social forces such as Disney, mass media, and technology have played a huge role in who I am today. I think it is what makes our generation so unique. Growing up with a smartphone at our hands, I think it leaves a big footprint on who we become and may prevent us from becoming everything that we want to be. I believe that there are stereotypical boundaries, and there is a rigid structure between what is masculine and what is feminine, and those things might not change for several decades, or they might change rapidly because of the pace that America and the world in general is heading at with technology and inventions and new fads. But I do believe, as I'm about to graduate Penfield High School and many things are about to change in my life, that I am leaving more sociologically mindful. I do believe that I view these things differently, and that I am grateful for the fact that you were able to open my eyes to many new perspectives, and I was able to think for myself about really what I am participating in and how I do contribute. And like the forest, the trees, and the one thing said many months ago, it is a smaller picture that is always a part of a larger picture, and one cannot exist without the other. I do think that this is an important concept to take with me through life. And instead of looking at Disney and gender and stereotypes and mass media and technology as things that are going to affect me, I want to affect them. I want to be a girl who does change modern society and who does contribute it towards growth and things that I do believe will benefit everybody as a whole, because I am a part of a society. It cannot exist without me, and I cannot exist without it. Thank you.